Hermit Pass starts in West Cliff, Colorado and reaches 14 miles into the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. County Road 160 terminates at Hermit Peak, which is 5,000 feet above West Cliff and 13,000 feet above sea level. In our convoy was a GMC Canyon All-Terrain, Ram Rebel, Chevy Bison ZR2, and my Gladiator Rubicon, which are all made in the Midwest. There's my buddy's camper again. After our experience in Arizona struggling to get it up the trail, I was curious to see how it would do here. I was kinda hoping for something catastrophic to keep things interesting. As we purred upward, the trees and mountains opened, revealing majestic alpine meadows in full bloom, which beats the hell out of anything you'd find in Kansas. My Gladiator's factory suspension does a good job handling both streets and trails. That said, I plan to upgrade to adjustable shocks so I don't have to compromise on either terrain. Surprisingly, the camper did not explode on the trail. It happily bounced along like a puppy chasing a treat. In only 45 minutes we made it to our campsite, where we'd spend the next week doing camping things. I downsized my setup this trip. I left my Oz tent, cot, fridge, cooler, extra clothes, steak, and silly camping gadgets at home. I packed more like I would for a backpacking trip. On trips, thanks to gear creep, I was spending too much time messing with gear. Gear creep is buying overloading gadgets for extraneous comfort that offer minimal functional gains. Organizing, using, cleaning, arranging, packing, it takes time dealing with gear, and too much stuff was taking the fun out of my adventures. So I decided to do without. I still brought too much, but I proved to myself that ironically, with less stuff, I was more comfortable. Packing for a camping trip is a balance between needs and comforts. Luxuries like a cot or rooftop tent are not necessary for adventure. Food and water you do need, but even with your necessities, purposeful decisions can lighten your burden. So we're at camp. It's about 10,500 feet. And the one thing that never fails when I get to altitude is my stomach gets bloated. So where I live in Kansas City, we're at about 800 feet. So up here, that high pressure gas that's built up in my intestines just wants to force its way out. So, man, a little out of breath too. So it's so uncomfortable the first night I get to altitude, which for me, 10,000 feet is, altitude. And I spend the first day just off-gassing everything that's built up in my intestines. It's very uncomfortable, and it's kind of a gamble. It's like, oh, do I trust that fart or not? And so far, I've been lucky. We were collectively scared of bears, and the first night I spilled a meal on the ground. I did not sleep well after that. A satellite communicator is one item I always have on me when traveling. Its uses and the safety it affords me more than justify the cost. In addition to texting where there's no cell service, my family can instantly see where I am, and I can ping authorities for help if I get into a bind. The next day, we drove to Hermit Peak. Above the 10,000-foot tree line, Hermit Pass turns into an idyllic Colorado experience. Classic mountain views, garden meadows, snowmelt lakes, and crisp air. It was not treacherous or technical. The road was blocked by snow just shy of the peak. We parked and hiked the rest of the way. Contrary to maps, Hermit Road terminates at the peak and no longer continues west of the pass. You can hike it, but I would not trust the weight of a vehicle on the steep and loose rock and risk sliding. Oh, I love this. Oh, this is so much fun. Look at all that. That is gorgeous. Wow. I need more of this. I need more of this. Wow. Oh. Hiking is one of my go-to activities around camp. My 4 tires get me close, and my 2 legs finish the journey. Where'd he go? Oh crap, he's over here. Hey little guy, what are you doing on my Jeep? Yeah? The Colorado Rockies are crawling with marmots, which are large ground squirrels. They chirp when threatened. Like my wife, they enjoy sunning themselves on warm summer days. Remember to keep your food locked up and rig secured. That last bit was not a reference to my wife. Good thing our food was locked up. The snow was covered in a layer of dark dust. The dust absorbs heat from the sun and melts the snow while simultaneously reducing the snow's albedo, or reflectivity. Increased droughts means more dust on the snow, which shortens the snowpack season. The snowmelt from this patch eventually runs into the creek behind our campsite. My load is lighter this trip, like a vasectomy. That includes bringing only a few days worth of clothes and washing them instead of packing out a duffel of smelly undies. I wear wool where it counts. Stains aside, I can wear a single wool shirt for a week without odor. Most synthetics cannot do that. Pants last me a week, socks 2 to 3 days, and underwear I change daily. I learned this laundry method at Philmont. The key to getting clothes clean is agitating them for at least 5 minutes and occasionally rearranging them. Dispose of degradable consumables like laundry water and toothpaste into the fire pit and not onto the ground or near water sources. Trail laundry is water intensive, so plan ahead accordingly or learn to embrace the funk. You'll need to rinse 2 to 3 times. Air dry in the sun and you're good to go. Flies were not a bother on this trip because the GMC Canyon collected them for us. That's possibly because the flies are attracted to bright surfaces that mimic water. Instead of bringing enough water to fill a bathtub, I sourced most of it locally. That also cut down on my packed weight, but it only worked because there was a reliable water source. My fallback was to resupply in Westcliff. This MSR water filter claims to work in the worst case water conditions. It fits Nalgene's, and each filter treats up to 10,000 liters. I also have iodine and micropure tablets for backup. Purified snowmelt water, the best I've never tasted. I really am enjoying treating my trips like I'm backpacking. After 12 years of Jeep trips, I still am making improvements. Like my job in paid search, I'm always testing and optimizing. For years, my wife and I have talked about simplifying our lifestyles and cutting back to eliminate busy clutter. Reading Dan Greck's The Road Chose Me, which chronicles his 2-year journey from Alaska to Argentina in a TJ, helped with our final push. It was our turn to downsize. We moved into a house that was half the size of what we had and got rid of a third of our belongings. With smaller bills and less to maintain, we have more freedom to spend time outdoors and enjoy a slower, determined pace. No, I did not sell our house to buy a Jeep. We aren't vagabonds. We're also focusing on quality over quantity. We stopped purchasing so much junk that ends up in a dump after a year, and instead, we save to buy the best we can afford, which is cheaper in the long run. Our goal is to relocate from Kansas to a mountainous state once the kids finish high school, so we can be closer to recreation and away from the palpable Kansas humidity. Our base camp had several flavors of sleeping setups. The Rebel had a Tepui RTT on a custom rack with actuators that raised the tent to access the bed. The Canyon had a lightweight Smitty-built Gen 2 rooftop tent that's a great value option. My friend Ilya has a No Boundaries 10 Series camper, which is the hub of our campouts thanks to its generous awning. He has a good system down and has bought enough stuff for it to help finance a billionaire's recent trip to space. He brings a Blackstone grill, known as a teppanyaki in Japan. Like a Russian Marco, he's always in the trail kitchen preparing feasts. I had a one-person MSR backpacking tent under a tarp with arguably the best view in the group. However, I can use a better camping chair. Any recommendations? By the way, in my opening montage, I left out my learning experience setting up the fly. Remember, on social media, you only see what people choose to share. Reality is not as glamorous as it appears in your feeds. While I was not eating steak like my friends, I certainly could have. A meal cost about as much as a ribeye. But hey, convenience. Backpacking meals are the camping equivalent of microwave dinners. My Jeep does not have a true dual battery setup yet. To charge my camera batteries, I've been using a 120 watt solar radiation converter and chemical energy storage unit that's made in a communist country. The next day, we went to Hermit Lake at 11,300 feet. My friends fished for trout and I went hunting for a waterfall. I met these guys years ago through my local Jeep social media drama club. They used to have well-built and capable JKs and we'd wheel as much as our bank accounts could afford. I heard there's a neat waterfall hidden northeast of the lake and decided to find it. The hike past the fall ended up being the highlight of my trip. I've had the Sockler DV1 tripod for 15 years, but I'm yet to figure out the best way to carry it while hiking. The east side of the lake has a boggy trail that's beat down by local fishermen. And there are the falls. Neat! The falls are widely dispersed through the vegetation, and it was a relaxing destination. Then I decided, I made it halfway around the lake, I might as well tour the other half. My plan was to follow the edge of the brush and boulder field around the lake, avoiding vegetation where possible, and meet up with more fishing trails at the next tree line. Since I was a kid, I wanted to be a cameraman for the Discovery Channel. I'm enamored with the idea of traveling through harsh terrain to capture pleasing footage. This YouTube channel lets me do that while I raise a family.
Boulder field. Made it. Okay, you're recording. I can walk around.
And yes, I am wearing a Bear Grylls adventure shirt. I need to incorporate rucking into my workouts so I'm more acclimated to this kind of activity. Weight training on its own is almost a hindrance without endurance. Mountains are nature's water towers. Seasonally, they accumulate water and provide fresh water for communities downstream. There are 3 lakes acting like natural reservoirs towards the top of Hermit Pass. Hermit Pass is east of the Continental Divide and in the Arkansas watershed. Its runoff eventually flows into the Arkansas River, the Mississippi River, and then the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, this is fun. I need to do a lot more of this. It just feels right.
The south end of Hermit Lake has a cool side quest. It's a waterfall better than the one I hiked around a lake to find.
Here's the part where I fall. Oh. Whoa. Whoa. Woo. That was close. Back to camp.
On this trip, I learned that I have a better time with less gear. I was reminded how relaxing it is taking in the outdoors from outside of a rig. I needed this, an easy trip to reset my priorities and recalibrate against my goals. With that behind me, there's a new track ahead, and I'm ready to explore it. Thanks for watching. See you on the trail.